Chapter 13. Irina meets the wise woman. Gathering herbs was one of Irina's favourite tasks, but she loved turning the roots, leaves and flowers into potions even more. Country folk travelled for hours for Octavia's herbs. Chamomile cream for calming nerves or healing sticky eyes, aloe vera to soothe burns, calendula for wounds, dandelion brew to fix warts, and ginger root tea to ease stomach aches. The earth was cold underfoot, and new yellow-green leaves swarmed the trees like butterflies. It was Irina's old habit to look for wolf tracks, but that morning all she saw were the tiny imprints of bird claws and a set of marks that may have been made by a hare. When her basket was heavy with clippings and roots, Irina sat down beneath an odum tree and unwrapped the parcel Octavia had prepared: chunky bread, a piece of cheese, and a leather jack of milk. She offered some crumbs to Amicus with one hand, while eating with the other. The sun warmed her. Relaxed, she leaned back against the trunk and closed her eyes. Often, when Irina rested, she had a kind of daydream. It was always the same. She saw a young woman wearing a robe and a curiously tall crown. This girl-woman had glittering eyes like shekers, eyes that could stare for a long time without blinking. She spoke urgently to Irina. "Wake up, wake up. You're sleeping, little sister. Don't you know me? You are me." "Who are you?" cried Irina, rousing from her doze. As always, the daydream was disturbing. "I should never rest during the day. I hate that girl," she said to Amicus. "What girl?" he cooed. "Oh, the girl in my dream. I can't explain." She glanced down at her hands folded in her lap, at her jute dress and apron, at the leather boots lined with sheepskin that William had made for her. The skin on her hands was scratched from picking roots, her fingernails short and ridged with dirt. "This is real," she said, and pinched the thick cloth of her dress. Raising her head, she was surprised to find a hare less than a foot away from her, squatting on its hind legs. "Hello, you lovely creature," said Irina, holding out her hand. She was used to animals coming close to her. She went to stroke his glossy brown pelt and stopped. It seemed disrespectful somehow. "What can I do for you, wise one?" she said. The hare was still and silent. Birdsong died away in the trees above. Amicus stopped his fluttering. There was something peaceful and inviting about the hare's warm brown eyes, and the more Irina stared, the more it seemed she was entering a hidden world. How strange! It was a knotty, gnarled place of caves and kingdoms. When Irina saw soldiers on horseback charging and women weeping over lost children, she became frightened. She saw a sword plunged into the earth. Above it was a mighty angel, far mightier than anything she had ever dreamed. He placed his hands over the sword's handle and raised it above his head, ready to pierce the sky. This angel was not the goddess Jun, so who was he? Beyond, she saw a row of 7 doors, each one locked. 6 of the doors were the height of a woman, but the 7th was small, like a cupboard door. A twig snapped, and the hare moved. Irina felt a curious sensation, like she was backing out of a long tunnel, and she thought she heard the rustling of cloth dragging over leaves. Before she could turned towards the sound, Amicus suddenly let out a long, joyous note. There, behind the hair, was an old crone. Her skin was as withered as a fallen apple, and her hair covered her head sparsely in long, woolly strands. She wore a floor-length wrap made of furs and held a basket of stones over one arm. Her neck, arms and shoulders were bare, and beneath her skin veins seemed to twitch and move, as thick and lively as the brambles twined around her head. Her eyes were partly obscured by the heavy folds of her eyelids, but they gleamed darkly, like wet stones in a river. The crone was studying Irina with such concentration that it seemed to pour from her in waves, wrapping Irina warmly and firmly. Irina had never seen the woman before, and yet she felt she had always known her. Instinctively, barely conscious of what she was doing, Irina knelt.